What's up, strength coaches? Welcome back to another episode of the Cheeky Midweeky, where we are making strength and conditioning not boring anymore. And today is Friday, October 11th, and this is a solo episode where I'm going to talk about I made a mistake with the acute to chronic workload ratio in this graph from Tim Gabbett with how I saw it. And this was pointed out to me by a very successful strength and conditioning coach in the NFL, where he said something to me. He watched a webinar and brought up the fact that Tim's research here in this graph got redacted or had to be like re-talked about. And I'll link the video down below. I got to re-find it after he and I talked about it, and a group of strength coaches sent me the video. But the whole premise of what this strength coach was sending to me is the sweet spot being that 0.8 to 1.3, and then the danger zone being 1.5 and above. And he's right. Like, I didn't look at this accurately. I just kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, well, if this is the graph and this is what they put out, it's got to be true. I mean, if you look at this graph. Now, here, let me preface all of this. I am not telling you how to think. You need to go and look at this yourself and see if this makes sense for you, because I don't want you to take my word as like, look at this. My word's not gospel any more than Tim Gabbett's word's not gospel. So go in, look at it, critically analyze it yourself, look at this graph. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you is I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did, where it's like, oh, our acute to chronic workload ratio is above 1.5. Like, we're making a mistake. Maybe that was me and you're not doing that. And if you're not doing that, then cool. But I know other strength coaches that were doing that, and athletic trainers that were reading this stuff and took the above 1.5 as gospel. And I truly don't think it is. And if you look at this graph, so this quote unquote sweet spot is between 0.8 and 1.3. If you look at the graph, and so anybody looking at the video right here, you'll see there's the same number of incidents at 10% injury in the sweet spot as there is in the danger zone. There's two times right around, there was a 10% likelihood of injury on this graph. Okay, well then why is the sweet spot if there's the same? Let's also talk about this right here. Sure, in the danger zone, there was 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4 danger zone injury risk greater than 15% likelihood of injury. All right, when the acute to chronic workload ratio was at 2, but at the same time in that danger zone, like, there was 3 of them where it was a 6% chance of likelihood. So like, somebody's acute to chronic workload ratio based on this graph could be right around 1.75, and there was a less than 5% chance of them getting injured. Realistically, the sweet spot can go all the way up until 2. Like, if you look at this graph, it can go all the way to 2. And even at 2, there was a 5% likelihood of injury. Yeah, once you get at 2 in this graph, there's a 10, and then the rest are 15s. But like, anywhere else, there's only there's 3 chances where it's less than 6%. That's the same as in the sweet spot. Like, I think your acute to chronic workload ratio can be upwards of 1.75. I really do. Probably closer to 2.0. Realistically, looking at this graph, that there are that 2.75, like that little gap. I don't think that this graph accurately represents the actual likelihood of injury. I think your acute to chronic workload ratio, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't even believe in it. Like, you still have to believe in acute to chronic workload ratio. If you do too much too soon and you haven't been training hard, yeah, you're going to get injured. But don't get so caught up in your numbers, especially at first, when your numbers are going to be all out of whack if your athletes haven't been on campus training with you. Like, yeah, they're going to be astronomical, because it's going to say that if your athlete's had a 4-week break and you start training, like, yeah, you have no recorded data on them, so take that with a grain of salt. But realize that this graph, it's probably a lot safer to get to 2.0, okay, then he said, or any of the research said, the danger zone being at 1.5 is just not true. At 1.5 to 1.75, it is the exact same as in the injury, the sweet spot, the less likely of an injury risk. The danger zone being labeled from 1.5 up is just wrong when you look at this graph. And again, here it is. So here's that 1.5. All the way up until this 1.75, these numbers are the exact same as the 0.8 to 1.3. That sweet spot and the 1.5 to 1.75 are the same. So you should not be able to make that claim, in my opinion. Research this yourself. Look at it yourself. Look at your data yourself. If you need help looking at your data, reach out to us at Strength Coach Network. You can email us at service@support@strengthcoachnetwork.com. All right. Again, that's support@strengthcoachnetwork.com. Somebody from the customer service team will get it to me, and I can look at your data. I've had members give me their login information to look at their Catapult data before. I'll do it again. Like I said, let's individualize it. The big takeaway home that I want you to have from this is to understand, individualize your data, look at it. Don't get so caught up in truly thinking that 1.5 is an injury risk with the acute to workload ratio. Because based on this graph, I don't believe it is. I also don't believe that 1.75 is. I don't. You could say once it gets closer to 2, yes. But based on this graph, I do not believe that the danger zone is at 1.5. To me, the danger zone is at 2.0. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't want to live in a world, I don't want to live siloed where it's echo chamber and I say, like, if you disagree with me, tell me. Don't just reach out to us, message us on the Instagram. Tell me why you disagree with me so we can have a constructive conversation about this. Comment on the Instagram or email us and let's start the conversation. Let's do a cheeky midweeky. If there's a coach out there that's like, hey, I disagree with you, let's have a conversation about it on the cheeky midweeky so everybody else can learn about it. If you know more about this, feel free to reach out to me. Have a great rest of your day, y'all. You need CEUs to keep your certification as a strength and conditioning coach. At Strength Coach Network, both of our long-form education courses come with CEUs to the NSCA, CSCCA, ASCA, and the NCSF. Click the link down below for more information about how our courses can help you keep your certification and you're able to learn from some of the biggest and brightest names in strength and conditioning.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.